All right, Shannon, so let's get started on workshop 4E. Okay, so the first question that we've got here for workshop 4E is list and explain two situations where cultural and social differences may influence the food choices of clients or members. Okay, so why don't we try and think about one cultural difference and then one social difference, okay? So can you give me some sort of example for a cultural difference here? So think about different cultures that you might come across in this industry and then how that might influence their food choices, either good or bad, you know?
Okay, so some cultures are predominantly maybe like vegetarian or don't have access to foods.
Yeah, so you might look at, so the situation might be a, like maybe could be like a Hindu culture. Yeah, so the situation could be like training a client from Hindu culture. And then he just explained, you know, they will eat a predominantly vegetarian diet, which is typically a good thing, right?
Should I write? Sorry, should I write? So the situation, right, about the Hindu culture, and then in the explanation, that's when I should write
how it's going to impact their food choices. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, so obviously they eat a predominantly vegetarian diet, which is great for the most part, yeah, but you might also try and identify there may be some gaps in their nutrition with a vegetarian diet, yeah?
Yeah. So difficulty sourcing protein?
Yep, definitely, yep. So they may have some issues in getting the required quantities of protein, particularly if they're doing resistance training or something like that. Are there any other sort of minerals that we may need to look at? They might be low in as well.
I'm not sure.
So have you heard about like iron and iron deficiencies? So
I have, yes.
Yeah, so very common that some vegetarians, especially females, can be low in iron because they're just not getting enough protein from animal sources. And animal sources are very high in protein. Do you know what some of the signs and symptoms of low iron are? Someone's got low iron?
Fatigue.
Yep.
I don't know what else.
Well, everything that comes along with fatigue. So they're fatigued, they're weak. They typically, you know, can't train as hard in the gym. They might be a little bit pale. They may have low blood pressure. Those sorts of things. Unless they're getting a lot of leafy green vegetables, or they might be supplementing with iron. You know, so that could be just two potential issues. Now, you know, not always. You know, there are lots of vegetarian people that have a very well balanced diet and get adequate amounts of protein. There's no shortage of plant-based protein powders on the market now, which are very useful for vegetarian clients. Have you seen all those, like the pea proteins and stuff? Yeah. So, you know, they weren't around at all 5-10 years ago. So.
Okay, so that's that one there.
Yep, good. Okay, so Hindu prominently vegetarian diets may be different, getting required amounts of quality protein. Also, if they are iron deficient, not having red meat may affect them. Okay, yeah. Also, if there is an iron deficiency, yeah, great. Okay, so that's a cultural one. Now let's think about a social example. And I think the best social example to start with would be someone that comes from a low socioeconomic background. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So training a client from a low socioeconomic background would be the situation. And then what I would want you to do is explain to me how that may influence their food choices.
That's not how you spell it. We'll get there.
Yeah, socioeconomic, yep.
So low socioeconomic background. They tend to have a more of a fast food diet.
Yeah, so because why? Because fast food is typically
cheaper
and more accessible. Yeah. You know, a lot of them don't have cooking skills. You know, the sad thing is that typically fresh produce is more expensive. Not always, but at least that's the perception, right? Is that healthy food is more expensive. So yeah.
Yeah. Fast food,
yeah.
Probably lacking the education and the skills as far as food is concerned.
100%. Yeah, that's a really important one. You know, if you've grown up in an environment where your parents, all they did was buy takeaway food for you every evening, and then you never learned to cook, so you don't know how to prepare healthy meals from scratch. You know, you won't make vegetables, you won't steam them, you won't boil them, you won't grill them. You know, you just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because fast food is cheaper and more available to those with low income households, right? What does that mean they eat more of? Like, so what is in fast food that they just eat more of than a normal person?
Um,
Like they'll eat more sugar. There's more sugar in fast foods, you
yeah.
know, like sugar, you know, bad fats, such like trans fats. Um, what else? Calorie dense food, which leads to weight gain. You know, that sort of stuff. It's very easy to eat a lot of calories at McDonald's for very cheap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mate, hamburgers are $1 these days. You can buy a cheeseburger at Macca's for $1. Like it's like, you know, it's crazy. So, you know, if a cheeseburger is 300 calories a pop at $1, you can get 1,500 calories for $5. Super easy, you know. So, yep, good. Processed foods, you know, lacking in vitamins and minerals, you know, because usually as you process these foods, you strip out all the actual nutrition out of the foods. Yeah. That's excellent, mate. That's really good. Very, very good comprehensive answer there, Shannon. Well done. So understanding that if you're working in a low socioeconomic environment, if you've got clients from that, you need to start asking these sorts of questions about their cooking skills, the amount of takeaway food they're eating, because that's going to inform, you know, your nutrition advice to them. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is basically saying someone's come to your gym, this next question, you're informed they haven't been feeling as good as they normally do. The member asks if poor nutrition could make them feel this way as they haven't really been eating well recently. So basically everything we just talked about with the low socioeconomic status, what I want you to do is try and explain in your own words here, what does poor nutrition, what sort of effects does it have on your health and well-being? Okay, so you might want to do this in like bullet points, is maybe like 5 or 6 bullet points, is like, what are some issues, you know? So obviously, you know, poor nutrition. So like, I'll give you one example so you can get a kind of an understanding. So poor nutrition can lead to weight gain, right? And then we need to talk about like why it leads to weight gain. Yeah. So weight gain due to what?
Due to too much fat.
Where
Excessive fat.
it's more just excessive calorie consumption, you know, because the basics of weight gain is just, you know, you basically just taking more calories in than what you're burning, right?
Yep.
And poor nutrition, like calories have never been cheaper and easier to eat. You know what I mean? Like, you know, McDonald's milkshakes and all that shit, right? So that would be one. Yep. Okay. Now, what might be another health and well-being issue due to poor nutrition, apart from weight gain?
Deficiencies in certain minerals.
Yeah, so you could say deficiencies in certain vitamins. Yeah. And what are some of the reasons why people get deficiencies in vitamins and minerals?
Is it because the food's so processed?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Due
food. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, no. That's right, Shannon. Yeah, so it's basically due to their, you know, increased intake of processed foods, right? So, yeah, just as you answered kind of before. Yep. What about energy levels? So, how does poor nutrition impact energy levels? So if you've got low energy levels or energy, you know, swings throughout the day, what is typically a cause of that in terms of nutrition?
Too much. High in sugar.
Yeah, so simple carbohydrates, you know, so excessive simple carbohydrates like sugar will spike your energy, but then it'll crash it 60 minutes later. So if you're not eating proteins and fats and fiber, which help to keep you full, you're constantly going up and down. And that's when people are always hungry, right? And that's when they overeat and all that sort of stuff, yeah? What about, let's think of maybe, let's try and think of 2 more, okay? So what would be 2 other issues caused by poor nutrition? I want you to try and think about muscles and bones here.
So low calcium.
Yeah. So what would be the issue first? The issue in the body would be, what does low calcium cause in the body?
Weak bones.
Yeah, so well, we'd call that
Is that true, or is that a myth, or
well,
I keep hearing things that's might not be the case, or
look, low bone mineral density is not just caused by low calcium, right? There are lots of other different factors. Like if you've got a family history of osteoporosis, it will definitely put you more at risk. If you are inactive, which means you don't strength train, you don't like do any impact activity, that also aggravates it. If you eat a low calcium diet, sure, but also what's really important is calcium and vitamin D work together. Vitamin D, so you've kind of got to make sure that you're getting both calcium and vitamin D, right? So you can be having a very high calcium diet, but if you're getting no vitamin D through sunlight or through egg yolks or whatever, then your body has a hard time absorbing the calcium, right? So it's not just the only factor. There's like 3 or 4 different factors that lead to bone mineral density. But low calcium can be one, especially if you're not getting any vitamin D as well. Okay. So I would write something like low bone mineral density, which is the weak bones. And then if we talk about this in regards to nutrition, it would definitely be due to a lower calcium and vitamin D intake. All right. Do you know some sources of vitamin D?
The sun.
Sun, yeah. What about do you know any food sources of vitamin D?
I think you just mentioned egg yolks.
Yeah, egg yolks. Yeah, there are a few others that are really important. Seafood. So particularly, not so much like fish, but particularly like what would we call like oysters and mussels and prawns, shellfish. So shellfish have quite high sources of vitamin D. Fatty fish like, small fatty fish like sardines and stuff like that.
Omega-3s?
Yeah, they've also got omega-3s as well as vitamin D. So they've kind of got a little bit of both. Sea vegetables are really good as well. So things like kelp and seaweed are really good. And some nuts have vitamin D. So all those really healthy fats have got a lot of vitamin D in it as well. But the best way to get it, the easiest way and the cheapest way is obviously through sunlight. Okay. So that's pretty good. So we've got weight gain, deficiency in certain minerals, energy levels, low bone mineral density. So I think that's 4 really good examples. Good. Okay. So now what I want you to do is think about 2 examples of clientele who would have specific or special dietary requirements that would require referral to a health specialist. So I want you to give me an example of a requirement or an issue or a condition, and then tell me who you would refer that person to.
If someone has diabetes?
Yeah, so a specific or special dietary requirement. So that would be probably type 2 diabetes. So that's where type 2 diabetes, because type 2 diabetes is when you've been taking in too much sugar and your body's producing too much insulin.
Yeah.
Now, who would you refer that person to?
The GP.
Yep, GP. Yep. Or after a GP, do you know the name of a
sports nutritionist?
Yeah, or a nutritionist. Yeah, because and why would you maybe refer them to a nutritionist if they've got diabetes? What could the nutritionist do?
Put them on an actual eating plan.
Perfect.
That would be more beneficial than a GP would probably just give you kind of generic
advice. Yeah. So what? Yeah. So what the GP would probably do is like test your blood sugars, see how bad the diabetes is, give you some general advice. Then they may send them to a nutritionist and go, okay, now the nutritionist is going to, really put together a detailed meal plan, eating plan, low sugar, low carbohydrate, all that sort of stuff. Okay. So with nutritionists, Shannon, can you just expand that nutritionist answer? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just expand both of those actually, just with a quick reason why or how they could help, right? Yeah. Yeah, good. Excellent. Okay. So what about a client with another specific or dietary requirement? So let's think about it like a specific dietary requirement here.
Vegan.
Yeah. So what about like a vegan athlete? Yeah. So someone who's an athlete, a football player or a long distance runner or whatever, right? and they're an actual like an athlete, yeah? So who might you refer them to?
Sports nutrition
Yeah, so I would do like an actual sports dietitian.
or dietitian.
Yeah. And not just for a detailed eating plan, but also to make sure that they're covering all their, vitamin and mineral requirements, making sure they're eating enough calories to sustain their training. So a sports dietitian will look a little bit more into this is how much of this is how much of that. So the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian, basically dietitians go a little bit more into scientific detail about, we want you to get this amount of milligrams of vitamin C a day, whereas a nutritionist might just give you sort of general food plans, yeah? So that's why an athlete might be a little bit more specifically, appropriate to have a sports dietitian. Perfect. Excellent. Yep. Yeah. So, they'd be looking at calorie intake. They'd be looking at, macronutrient composition. You understand like the macronutrient side of things. So like what percentage of carbs and protein and fat, they'll be looking at, are they getting enough vitamin B, C, D, A, whatever. Anyway, so that's kind of that concept there. Yeah. All right. So this is a good question. There's another one for you to answer. Identify 2 ways in which you as a fitness professional could model healthy eating behaviors and attitudes within your work role. So you being a trainer, working in a studio or in a gym, how could you model healthy eating behaviors and attitudes to other people, to your clients, to other staff members, to other general members, people in the community? How can you be a healthy eating role model?
By eating healthy myself.
Yeah. So the big thing here is like, modeling like personal healthy eating behaviors. And then just give some examples, like not being seen eating, junk food in front of clients or things like that. Although there is a big push now towards the whole concept of like flexible dieting, yeah. That a lot of trainers go, I can have a donut here and there. It doesn't really matter as long as it fits into my overall plan. But, as a general rule, you want to make sure that you're modeling those healthy eating behaviors, A lot of trainers can sit there and eat hamburgers and drink beers and get away with it because we have fast metabolisms, because we exercise, we move around so much. But if your clients are seeing that and thinking they can get away with that as well, that's no good. So, so just try and expand on that answer a little bit and try and explain it in your own words. Yeah, good. Okay. Now, what are some other ways in which you could model healthy eating behaviors? Maybe not so much you personally, but what are some so let's say you own a gym or a studio or something. What could be some things you could implement within the gym or studio, or challenges, or like think about, like, try and get creative here, thinking about ways in which you could model healthy eating behaviors.
Encourage, like just have a refrigerator there and encourage people to make their own food and bring it there with them.
Yeah. So you could have things like some gyms will have like fruit bowls there, so people can grab a piece of fruit on their way out of the gym or something like that.
Or maybe sell pre-packaged health packs or health.
Fantastic. Food. Yeah. So there are tons of companies, like you could like implement or institute like healthy meal service that clients can take when they leave the gym. What are the names of all those, like muscle meals and, all those types of things? So definitely, having a range of healthy food options that customers can purchase as they leave the facility, offering free fruit and vegetables or whatever, hosting nutrition seminars and cooking classes. I mean, there are so many ways in which you could, really approach this question. So you're only really limited by your imagination really here. Have you ever used any of those meal delivery services at all, Shannon?
I think I had a crack at it for like a week or so.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got lazy on it, just started making my own stuff again.
Yeah, but, which is funny because it's supposed to be for people who are lazy, so they don't have to cook. But yeah, some people actually enjoy cooking.
I guess there's a certain element that I do enjoy, preparing my own meals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Yeah. So look, they're really good for obviously for people who are time poor, people who don't understand like portion sizes, because it really teaches them. What I like to use them for a lot of people is just, oh, this is what an actual portion looks like. But I'm big on I'm big on like the more of the Hello Fresh delivery boxes and stuff, because what they do is they encourage people to cook, one, so they're learning a new skill, and then two,
Yeah.
it's showing them the correct portion sizes and the meals are evenly balanced, and it's teaching them how to cook from recipes. So those things I really like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's keep moving on. So I think we've got a little case study with a little bit of nutrition information here. Okay, this is about Yana. Yana tells you she really wants to lose 6 kilos and she wants to do it within 2 weeks because she doesn't feel confident attending her sister's wedding in 6 weeks' time. She reveals that she acknowledges she has poor self-esteem and this makes it harder for her to stick to a training plan. Okay, so first things first. So this is the classic crash diet question. You know, oh my God, I've got this wedding come up in 2 weeks. I want to lose as much weight as possible. I've got 6 kilos I want to lose. Let's get this done. So do you think that's a realistic expectation for her to lose 6 kilos in 2 weeks?
No, it's dangerous.
Yeah, and why so? Why so?
Because if you're trying to drop that kind of weight, you're not intaking enough calories that's able to sustain everything else, I guess, as far as not just physically, but also her mental, not her mental fitness, but
her like everything from her mental outlook and her energy, hormonally, and she already acknowledges that she has poor self-esteem. So the big thing with this one is if she thinks she can lose 6 kilos in 2 weeks and she loses 3 kilos, which is still a fantastic result, right? But she'll go, oh, but it wasn't 6. You know what I mean? And she'll feel really bummed out about it, right? So what do you think a realistic weight loss expectation is for a client in general? How many kilos per week do you think is a safe and effective rate of weight loss?
Is it 1 a week or 2 a week?
I would probably say it's actually the real answer here is probably about half a kilo to 1 kilo a week. But it all depends on how heavy you are to start with. Does that make sense? Like, if you're 200 kilos, you're probably going to be able to lose 2 kilos a week pretty easily, right? But if you've got 80 kilos to lose, you'll lose 2 kilos a week. But if you've got 6 kilos to lose, you're probably going to lose 6 kilos over 12 weeks or 14 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like the last couple of the hardest. But a safe and healthy rate of weight loss is about half a kilo a week.
Okay.
So I would answer that for question 6.1. Why would you think that is safe and effective? Like, how would you justify half a kilo a week?
So 0.5 kilos a week. So just write 0.5 to 1 or?
Yeah, I would write probably 0.5 to 1 kilogram a week. And then what I want you to try, just quickly justify why you think that's an appropriate weight loss goal.
I think it's I think it's reasonable because it wouldn't be at the expense of her health.
Perfect. Yep, that's one great example. So it's realistic, as it's not going to affect her other, her health status or other health markers.
Also, if she doesn't reach them, she's not going to be so bummed out.
Yeah. So it's also achievable. Yeah, it's achievable, which means she won't feel discouraged if she doesn't achieve a higher amount or something like that. Yeah, because that's a big one, right? So you don't want to give someone an unrealistic goal, because if they don't hit it, it's just going to be like, well, here's another thing that I failed at, And what I also think about this one, Shannon, is this one is also, it's effective because typically when you lose weight at a slower rate, it doesn't just all pile back on, right? So
that's more sustainable.
It's sustainable and it's consistent. Like, you can lose half a kilo week in, week out. You know what I mean? Without making really drastic changes. Like if she was to lose 6 kilos in 3 weeks, she'd have to go on super low calories. There'd be no booze. There'd be no this. There'd be no that. It would be just completely unrealistic. And then as soon as she goes back after 3 weeks to eating normally, most of it's going to come back on,
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. They go, oh, half a kilo a week's not that much. And I go, well, what if you lost half a kilo a week every week for the next 6 months? You'd lose 12 kilos. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that sounds fantastic. You know, I'm like, yeah, well, you know, you can do it, right? And it also doesn't kill your lifestyle. That's a really important one. So you can have the odd alcoholic drink, you can have the odd chocolate bar or whatever, you know, like you can fit it all in. But if you're trying to lose heaps, it's not going to work for you. Because every time you lose weight and rebound, mentally it's harder for you to lose weight again, isn't it? Because you're just like, oh shit, I'm just going to put it all back on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. Okay, good. Excellent. That's a great example. Okay, so what I want you to do now in this one, so we're going to look at these 3 different areas, okay? So explain in your own words how the combination of eating a healthy diet, exercising, and maintaining a healthy body weight could improve her confidence and her self-esteem. Okay, so let's break this down into the 3 areas. So eating a healthy diet is the first one, right? How does that improve her? How does that improve her confidence and self-esteem and mood?
It makes her body actually feel better because there's not shit going into it.
Yeah, so it's boosting her energy. Yeah, so it's boosting her energy levels. Yeah. Yeah, so eating a healthy diet with lots of, you know, fruit and vegetables, healthy fats, lean proteins will help to boost her energy levels and improve her self-esteem. You know, like that would be an example of how you would explain that, because it's really important. Yeah. What I say to people, Shannon, I go, you wouldn't put unleaded petrol in. You wouldn't put, like, you know, basic 91 petrol into a Maserati, would you? No, you'd feed it 98.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's sort of the concept here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wrote lean meat will, eating healthy will boost energy levels, increase mental awareness.
Yep, that's great. Yep. So that would be the first one. Now the second paragraph would be now talking about a consistent exercise regime. So how would a consistent exercise regime improve her confidence and self-esteem?
It's a good habit. It's for certain so if she starts making good decisions, she's going to keep making. She's going to start feeling better about herself for doing that.
Yeah. And then so we're circling around sort of the concept here of, like, what is it in exercise that makes you feel good? Like, what is it about? Yeah, exactly. So consistent exercise regimen will help to release endorphins, right? Do you know the name of 2 endorphins, 2 neurotransmitters that make you feel good? Do you know the name of them?
Serotonin and...
That's one, yep.
Fuck, why is my mind so blank right now?
No, it's because it's Friday afternoon. Yes, exactly right. Serotonin and dopamine, yeah. So I would write something about releasing endorphins such as serotonin and dopamine, you know, to boost your mood. And that's one of the hugest things I focus on clients, especially early on in their program or their journey or whatever you want to call it, is I just go, don't focus on how exercise makes you look. Focus on exercise, how it makes you feel, right? Because if it makes you feel good, you'll want to keep coming back. You want to keep doing it. And then all the other benefits on how you look and how you perform, they're all going to come from the consistency. Yeah?
Yes.
That's super important. Always focus on how exercise makes you feel. And then you chase that feeling, the whole runner's high. You know, we've all felt it before. And, you know, then you'll keep coming back. You'll stay consistent. That's where the real progress comes from.
Cool. So just as to increase well-being and mood.
Yeah, great. Okay, and the last one is, how is maintaining a healthy body weight going to improve her confidence and self-esteem?
So it's consistent. So there's less up and down. And the less up and down with her body weight, the less up and down her mood will be.
Yeah, because if you look good, you feel good. Yeah. So let's think about this a little bit more in terms of aesthetics. You know, fitting into her clothes, dropping dress sizes. You know, those sorts of things. Because, you know, as much as we hate to admit it, for females, they are very powerful motivators. You know, like confidence from being able to look in the mirror, being happy with where you're at, maintaining a healthy body weight, fitting into all of your clothes, etc., etc. You know, then the male equivalent is, you know, dropping pant sizes, dropping belt buckle sizes, all that sort of stuff. Very, very powerful motivators for some people.
Okay.
So try.
So for that one, I should just put it, say, confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah, so maintaining a healthy body weight, in terms of looking good, feeling good, fitting into your clothes, etc. Can boost your confidence and self-esteem. Great, yeah. So you've done well, mate. Just fix up some of those red, just some of those spelling errors there. So serotonin, I think it's with an O maybe, whatever it says. Yep, serotonin. Yep. Good. Okay, great. So that's great. So now you've answered that question based upon those three things, consistent exercise, healthy diet, maintaining a healthy body weight, and why that's important in terms of confidence, okay? Next one, what are 3 open-ended questions you could ask Yana to determine how she eats, essentially, what influences her dietary choices, okay? So she's mentioned that she eats poorly, right? So first of all, what are open-ended questions, Shannon? How do we establish what they are?
Sure.
So an open-ended question is not something where you can just answer yes or no, right? Or have like a one-word answer. Like, is today Friday is a closed question because yes, is the answer. So you don't want to ask a question here that just is yes or no. You don't really want to ask yes or no questions in the gym because it doesn't give you enough information, yeah? You want to ask questions that allow your client to expand, to explain, and to kind of justify, yeah? So let's try and think of what 3 nutrition questions would you ask her to kind of get a bit of an understanding about how she's eating?
How often do you eat out?
Yeah, so how often do you eat out and what are your favorite foods to eat when you do eat out, right? So that's kind of a double-barreled question because she might say, I eat out 5 times a week and I usually eat KFC and Hungry Jack's and, straight away you're getting ideas of, okay, this is where she's at, So we need sort of 3 questions here, okay? Yep, so that would be one. Yep, what's another question?
Do you cook your own meals?
That's a great one. Yep. And then what would I do? Because that's kind of How often do you cook your own meals? And then I write, and then I might say something like, what do you find hard about cooking, or something like that? Because you want to try and get a little bit more information. I don't like cooking because I don't quite know what I should make that's healthy, or I don't like cooking because I'm too busy and I don't have enough time. You know what I mean? So can you see how I'm trying to expand these questions to go a bit deeper into sort of the underlying motivations? That's what's really important, is asking really good questions as a trainer. Yeah.
Yeah. So how often do you prepare your own meals?
Meals, and what do you find? Do you find anything difficult about cooking for you? It might be time, or I don't know what to do. I'm not very creative. I always make the same things over and over again. That's what a lot of people do. Yeah, they don't have enough variety in their cooking. We've all grown up in households where Monday night is this, and Tuesday night is this, and Wednesday night is this. So perfect. Okay, and then what might be a third question you could ask about her eating habits?
What kind of snacks do you like?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. When you snack, how often do you snack again, and what type of snacks would you eat? Right. Because if someone's saying fruit and carrots and hummus, you're like, okay, that's not bad. But if they're saying M&Ms and croissants and, monster drinks, then it's obviously a little bit different. So can you see, Shannon, here how these are like double-barreled questions? Yeah. We've kind of I think that's just important, because if you just ask these sort of really simple sort of closed questions, the client doesn't feel the need to explain. You really want them to really talk about themselves and explain. And then you want to be a good active listener so that you can really take that on board and use it to influence your programming and what you recommend and, your advice and all that sort of stuff. Okay. All right. 6.4 is just a standard question. How would you maintain accurate records of your consultation with Yana? So what would be some ways that you can maintain accurate records?
In my laptop?
So you could write, through screening forms, email consultations, written responses or feedback forms. So just thinking about all the different ways in which you can actually hold on to records, because what happens a lot, and we just do, when you ever get to scale as a trainer, which means when you start seeing 1 million people, you've had 1 million informal conversations, and you just forget about things, right? So Are you taking notes? Are you logging things? Where are you logging them? What is your system? Do you have a file for every client where you've got little notes about their training, little notes about their body composition, little notes about their eating? You know, like, so it's great to put some systems in place so that you've got all that information, because it's easy when you've got 5 clients, but when you've got 50, it becomes a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And then how would you, like, testing data, you know, all that sort of stuff. What would be some ways of storing this information?
Just in a locked file on my laptop.
Yeah, locked file on your laptop, or I would say on some sort of, like, these days, like cloud-based software. Yeah, because
Okay.
yeah, what's the benefits of using cloud-based software for this stuff?
Store more information.
Yeah, and also, like, if your laptop gets broken, you lose it, it goes kaput, you've got it. You know, you've got that, the backups on the cloud kind of thing, you know. And you can access it from multiple devices. You know, that's why, like, you know, you're doing this course on cloud-based software, yeah? So that I'm literally watching you as you're putting in your answers, and it saves in real time. You don't have to worry about losing your work. Like, it's all there. So that's why, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and can be accessed, you know, from multiple devices, etc. Yeah. So just, you know, the old school way is the old lock filing cabinet. Yeah. You know, ideally we go cloud. Cloud is also you know, cloud has hacking problems and stuff like that, but it's typically, you know, a lot safer. If your gym goes up in flames, you lose all your client data, you lose all your client credit card forms, you lose all your payments, you know, all that shit. So
yeah.
Alrighty, let's keep going through. There's a few more questions left in. Okay, so list the 5 dietary guidelines and explain which of the 5 guidelines can help improve her balance to meet her goals. So let's look up the Australian dietary guidelines. So what I suggest you do is just pull up a new page and just look up Australian dietary guidelines. And then what we'll do, we'll just pop these 5 guidelines down first. And then we'll talk about which ones you think are the most appropriate for her to achieve her goals, okay? If you want, you can even find these and just copy paste them down in there, yeah? And then...
to achieve and maintain healthy weight, those ones?
Yeah, it's those ones, yeah. So it's... Yeah, so you see how there's 5 of them. One of them, 4th one's breastfeeding. The 5th one's care for your food, store it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So copy those, paste them in, and then we'll talk about which are the most important ones for her. Good. Okay. So let's have a quick read through these. So to achieve and maintain a healthy weight, be physically active and choose amounts of nutrition, food, and drinks to meet your energy needs. Drink plenty of water. Enjoy a wide variety of nutritious foods from the 5 food groups. Limit intake of foods containing saturated fat, salt, sugars, alcohol, blah, 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 breastfeeding, blah, 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 care for your food and prepare and store it safely. So which do you think for these, if you had to pick 2 that were the most important for Yana, which 2 would they?
The intake of foods containing saturated fats.
Yeah, that's definitely one. And then you want to replace that with number 2, right? Replace that. Yeah. So you would say something about guidelines 2 and 3 are the most appropriate for Yana as we are looking to replace her poor food choices with healthier ones. You know what I mean?
Okay, so guidelines.
Obviously, we don't need to worry so much about breastfeeding with her. You obviously always want to care for your food and prepare and store it doesn't go bad and stuff, but you know, she's a restaurant, so.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry. Why are they most relevant to Yana?
Well, what do you think? I remember she says she has really bad food choices. Yeah, she doesn't eat well. So how would you argue? How would you explain why those 2 are important? Because we are trying to replace, you know, we're trying to re-educate her food choices and replace bad food choices with good ones. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, great. Simple. Yeah, because essentially, what's important with constant nutrition? We can't. It's so easy for us to say, take this out of your diet. Don't eat this. Don't eat this. Don't eat this. Don't eat this. Because then the next question is, well, then what do I eat? You know. So we've got to make sure that we do both. Like we're always like. You know, there are some really good books about like, don't eat this, eat that, where it gives like very similar sort of options where you can swap things out for others. And sometimes that's what people really need are those alternatives. Yeah. So we want to try and give alternatives. So when you're hungry and you're starving, you want a piece of sugar, you want something sugary, why not eat an apple? An apple's got carbohydrates. It's also got a lot of fiber. It'll make you feel full. It's full of vitamins and minerals. So we always want to give those alternatives, yeah? Alrighty, so let's move on. Is there any more questions here? That lets me go down. Oh, okay, so yes, what we're going to do now, write a referral to a GP or a nutritionist dietitian regarding Yana to receive professional assistance with helping her lose weight. Okay, so what we've got to do here is send Yana let's send her to a nutritionist, okay? So first things first, what we'll do is we'll make up the name of a nutritionist. So
yeah, Tom.
Yeah, so even before you do this, what I would write like Tom Smith up at the top, and then I would write like on the next line, nutritionist, Sydney Medical Centre, just so that you've got the actual sort of, it looks a bit more formal, yeah? Sydney Medical Centre. Okay, so then from here, you would go, okay, dear Tom. So the first thing that you would do is you would introduce yourself, My name is Shannon, and I'm a personal trainer at XYZ Fitness or something like that. Yep. Now, what's important here, and what's good habit to do, Shannon, is every time you refer a client after her name, Yana, always include in brackets a date of birth. Okay, so just make one up, right? DOB something something something. Now, the reason why that's really important from a healthcare medicals perspective is that every time, people like me, like exercise physiologists and stuff, every time we look up clients, we always look them up through date of birth, okay? So always include a date of birth every time you send a client anywhere, basically. It's just good practice, okay? And just put
brackets.
In brackets, and then write DOB in front of it, date of birth.
Okay.
So, yeah, right there, in capitals, DOB, capitals. Sorry, if we do it right the first time, we'll do it right every time, yeah? DOB. Yeah, perfect, okay? So we always want to make sure we include a date of birth, okay? It's really important, okay? Okay, so now you would say, Yana was looking for, so you want to explain like her presenting issue. Yana has told me that she suffers from low self-esteem and is attempting to lose weight loss at a very rapid rate. However, I'm concerned that this rapid rate of weight loss will impact her health and, mood and self-esteem or something like that. You want to basically give some concept of what is her presenting issue here in this paragraph. Okay. All right. Now from there, Shannon, you still there, mate? Yeah. Okay. From there, what you would do is you would probably say in the next paragraph, I've explained to her that this is not a realistic weight loss, goal within the time frame. And I'm looking to you for some assistance in creating a tailored, meal plan to suit her needs or something like that.
Fuck.
Okay, so let's have a quick look here, Shannon. I've explained to her this is not a realistic goal, and I'm looking for your assistance in setting her a healthy and achievable, so eating plan or weight or like meal plan. So you want to see, like, ask them specifically, for something in regards to that, yeah.
Achievable eating plan.
Yeah, eating plan.
Cool.
Okay, yep. And then you would say, perfect. Okay, so go down, and then the last paragraph essentially is, thanks in advance. I look forward to hearing from you. If you could please send me any advice and a copy of the plan, that would be great. So what is also you want to get in good habits of doing is always asking for something back. Every time I deal with GPs and physios and stuff, half the time they don't send anything back to me. So I always got to try and chase it up. So always make a point to ask to try and send something back. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. I need to sign off Shannon functional patenting. Yeah. So now what you can do, if you have to run for a GP or nutritionist, dietitian or whatever, you can use that as a session. Okay. When you have some models, you might want to have that one in your pocket. So you can copy and paste it and change some of the detail. And then, so I would save that to a different Word file or something. And I would save that as like, like referral letter nutritionist, right? And that way you've got it as a template. And next time we need one of those, you can plug it in and then we can just change some of the information. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
Yeah, okay. So I would definitely do that. Just save some time in the long run there.
Okay.
So 7. All right, so explain for allied health professionals. Okay, so the first one is, so we kind of talked a little bit about this already, yeah? So an accredited practicing dietitian would provide tailored meal plans and nutritional advice for general population clients, yeah?
Yeah.
So they're doing eating plans, eat this, don't eat this,
So nutrition advice.
And tailored meal plans. So I kind of break your clients into four major categories. You've got Gen Pop. Gen Pop is just normal people of normal age, general amounts of exercise, no major medical conditions, etc. Then you've got special populations. So special pop is people with medical conditions and concerns. Then you've got athletic, and then you've got the athletic population, and then you've got the older adult population. Yeah? So like kind of groups there. Okay, so now how would a sports dietitian be different? We've kind of touched on this already. Let's see what you can write down here. Think about like, this is more now tailored towards performance, making sure they're getting enough calories to meet their training and playing demands, those sorts of things, yeah? Where performance, calorie intake, are crucial to success or something like that. Okay, now a general practitioner, Shannon, what's the role of a general practitioner here? In regards to like the role with like how do personal trainers and general practitioners typically interact with each other?
It's just to ensure the safety and well-being of their clients.
Yep, by giving medical clearance. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So to ensure the safety and well-being of clientele by giving medical clearance prior to beginning a program. So that's typically like the first port of call. We're unsure if this person might be high risk. They've ticked yes to a few things on the screening form. We want to send them. We want to get them cleared. So yeah, something along those lines. Yeah, if it's not managed correctly and providing medical clearance to begin an exercise program. So make sure you add that providing medical clearance, because that's a really important piece of paper that we need, or that's a really important email that you need, right? Because God forbid something happens, with that clientele, if they've been medically cleared to exercise, legally you're going to be in the clear basically. So yeah, medical clearance is super important. Excellent, mate. Good job.